Hello. Today I want to talk to you guys about Brandon. This is a little bit different for me because I actually know Brandon and I actually love Brandon. This is a little boy who I met through his mother when I was living in a particular city. He was very young at the time. I think he was maybe probably 8 or 9 years old when I first met he and his sister Bree. Um, I used to get the kids, he and his sister, and bring them over to my house on the weekends to play with my kids. And they lived in a pretty high traffic home. Their mother, Teresa, was addicted or is addicted to pills. Okay. It's not allegedly, I was there. In any event, so with all the traffic and everything, I thought that it would be cool, for the kids to come over, and so that's what they started to do. And when I mean they loved coming over to my home, and I loved having them, even to the point to where when my two youngest kids weren't there, they would be gone for the weekend. I would still go around the corner, and if I didn't get his sister, I certainly got him. He was loving to come. Anyway. So as Brandon got older, he started getting into a little trouble. Um, his mother started to just give him different pets. She gave him turtles, rabbits, chickens, lizards, you name it. You name it. He had several dogs. He had approximately from anywhere from 14 to 16 dogs, all little chihuahuas, all small dogs, no great big dogs like that. And the reason, well, this part is alleged, but I couldn't understand, because he didn't know how to take care of any of these animals. They would always eventually die. And then I understood that she was giving him, in my opinion, all these pets and things to keep him occupied while she went and did what she did. As Brandon got older, he was a little bit of a, brat. He was, but we loved him. He was our brat. He loved nature, love animals. He wanted to work with animals. That's what he wanted to do when he grew up. He always said that he wanted to take care of them. If he can save every dog and cat, he would, right? So, Brandon started imitating his mother, started finding cigarettes off the ground. I don't know, around that age, smoking them and stuff. And then he started dealing in pills, not dealing, I would say taking pills and things like that, that he would get from his mother, stealing them at first, and then she would be leaving them around and everything. So he soon got addicted. Okay. And I'm going to fast forward through a lot of this stuff, but I really tried to help Brandon. I really did. I loved him as if he was one of my own. I truly did. When I saw him getting into trouble, he got in trouble for shoplifting and got put on probation. Um I was upset about the shoplifting once I heard about it, but I wasn't so upset about the probation. I thought that would save his life because he understood if you get caught with anything in your system, then you're going to go to juvenile hall, and hopefully they can get you some help there, and you can come out, and be a better person. It's not the way it happened. Fast forward, I had no idea that his mother, Teresa, and I'll say her name, was what they call huffing. And I can remember one specific incident. She had asked a friend of mine to take her to work, and my friend agreed to do so. On the way to dropping her off, she asked to stop at Walmart. She went in, she came out, and they proceeded to go to her job. He dropped her off, got back home, and she called him. And she says, I left a can in your car. I'm going to send Brandon over to get it. He didn't know what it was. He was like, okay. Brandon lived maybe three blocks away from this person. So Brandon came over and got, the can. Long story short, come to find out that can was left in the car on purpose for Brendan to get so that he can huff. That was a gift from his mother. This isn't something that he was able to go and purchase himself anywhere. You have to show ID at Walmart. It's very cheap, but it's not really accessible, at least out here, because of the rate of people dying, because of the quick high, and it's undetectable when if you have to do some type of drug screening, which is exactly what Teresa told her son once he got on probation. Yeah, he was doing other things other than pills. He had started getting dark around the eyes, his face. He had started getting, sores and stuff. I went over there and asked him, if you don't want to live, just let me know so I can stop coming over here talking to you. Just tell me what you want to do. And he always said, I want to live. I would go and sit on the table on the side of his house and just talk to him. His mother, Teresa, would call me. She had no problem every time he acted up or was going off and cursing her out and all this stuff. I was the person. She picked up the phone to call me. Not because I was going to curse him out. I had never cursed him out. Not until the end. I never physically chastised someone else's child, especially him. But she knew that he would listen to me. He'd loved me since he was a little boy. I would drive down the street, not even thinking about him, not his street, but he would see my car from his house. And he would run and scream my name, hi. And, that's just who he was. Anyway, so his mother started huffing, and she actually had a car accident. Tore up her beautiful red BMW. Sure did. Thank God she didn't hurt anybody. She hit a fire hydrant, I believe, and then her car went into somebody's yard. Thank God no one was injured. This was early in the morning. She had just come off of a graveyard shift from work. She swore to the police that she had not been drinking and she was not intoxicated. And they did give her an alcohol test, sobriety test, I'm sorry, right then. She passed. There was no alcohol in her system. She wasn't drunk. She said she was fatigued, had worked all night. But they didn't know to test for huffing. They didn't know. She ended up owing the city, I think, I don't know, 20 grand or something like that, for because she knocked out a whole light pole and some more stuff. But anyway, I remember Brandon posting online that he was so happy that his mother had made it through that horrible accident and that he had felt bad because he had cursed at her, I think, the day before. I was so proud of him that day reading that post. I really, really was. I was. Um, I'm just going to tell this one story and I'm going to get off here. This is a little bit more than I thought it was going to be for me. There was a time, this is when I was still living in the area. I ended up moving out of the area because I needed to move closer to my father. So I ended up moving approximately 104 or 5 miles away from Brandon. But as he knows, I was always a phone call away. I had no problem getting there. It wasn't ever a problem. And I did. That's why his mother called me. I didn't have a problem getting in my car when necessary. Popping up. Didn't matter. Hey, how are you doing? Do you need anything? I pull up, toot my horn. He'll come running out, jump in the passenger seat. We go get something to eat, talk. I drop him back off at home. Gave him, cell phone when he was older at this time. Gave him a phone. He didn't have a phone. Couldn't keep a phone turned on or whatever. I really loved him. And I think I was so drawn to him because I saw him as, and also a sister, but specifically him because he was so young and I saw him as not having a chance. And it was a weird feeling for me because normally it's the other way around, you know? Um, anyway, so I moved, as I said, and Brandon was cutting up and stuff, and so I would call him, talk to him, Brandon, stop calling your mama bitches. Brandon, stop slamming doors. Brandon, you can't do this. You cannot be disrespectful. I don't care what your mama said. That's still your mother. Do not disrespect her again, which is what I would say to him. He would fly straight for about 3 weeks, and then he'd need another tune up, as I would call it. I would tell him, you need a tune up, you need a complete oil change. What is it? Don't make me come out there. That's what I would say. This one particular time, his mother had it once again. She called my phone. I think I was at work that day. And I said, okay. I said, I'll be by there. I don't know when, but I'll be by there. So, as I said, Brandon had a whole bunch of dogs in the house. Not him, that's his mother. She allowed it to go on. He was a kid. There were a bunch of chihuahuas, and I say a bunch like a bunch, in the house. And they really, so I never went in their house, like ever, 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 ever. So I guess I caught him off guard. He wasn't expecting me to come when I did. And so I remember pulling up, and when I parked, I looked at the door because the door was open, but there was a screen door, and I saw a shadow bolt across, the room, like down towards the hall. I knew that was Brandon's ass. I saw his hair, right? He has his long blonde hair. So I get out of my car and I go to the door. The dogs are, rah, 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 barking and stuff. And his friend said, oh, Brandon's in the back. So I got my mace. I said, you tell Brandon to come from that back, or I'm coming in his house and one of these dogs bite me. I'm going to mace him and I'm going to clear the whole house out. So while the friend walked back to get him, I just said, fuck it. I walked in right behind the friend with my mace because at that time, in that instant, I was like, he trying to play me. He think there is a place that I will not go for him. Is he crazy? Do he know who he dealing with? He should have go ask one of my 5 kids. They all older than him, would have told him, do not play with her. Anyway, I walked straight in, dogs nipping at my knees and stuff. I'm like, Lord Jesus, all the way down the hall. So I get to this doorway. I said, hey, I said, come outside. And I turned right back around and walked out. He came on outside. We sat down on the side of the house. And this was when I was asking him if he wanted to live. And then just to let me know. Because if he wasn't going to try, then I was going to stop trying to help him and just leave him alone. I didn't want to be no bully or no, thorn in his ass. If you want to get high and cure yourself, just let me know. Because I can be applying myself to my own kids, my grandkids, or somebody else's kid who really wants to do something. He always told me yes, with tears in his eyes. He did. And I believe that he did. Every time I would talk to him, and by the end of the conversation, he would stand up and hug me so tight and say, I love you so much. And I said, I love you too. Do right. Be good. If you need me, call me. I don't care what it is. So, anyway, long story short, well, I will say this one other story and then I'm going to end this. This is a little bit more than I thought it was going to be for me. I was at home. This is before I moved, so I was living kind of I don't know. I was still in the same city before I moved here. I had gotten a call on my phone. It was like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, who was calling me at this ungodly hour? So I looked down at the phone and it says his sister's name in the caller ID. So I answered the phone. I said, hello. And there was a male at the other end screaming, what's her name? What is her name? And I said, excuse me? He said, whose phone is this? They're passed out on the ground. What's her name? I said, oh my God. And I told him her name. I said, where are you? What is the location? And he told me, I said, well, I'm not her mother. You know what? I said, I'm not her mom. I said, they said I said, I'm not her mom. I said, let me see if I can go and, find her and I'll give her this number and let her know. I also asked where you're going to be, going or, all this other stuff. He couldn't answer. So, it was a lot going on in the back. I can hear, the screaming. I can hear paramedic. I mean, I can hear everything. But I knew that, if I found his mother, I can at least, I mean, well, if I found her mother, because mind you, at this time, it's his sister's phone, and this person is telling me that this person, whoever's phone this is passed out. So I'm thinking it's her daughter. It's her daughter. So I get up, I get dressed, and I ride over to Teresa's house. I bam on the door. Someone opened the door. This was she always had a high traffic household. Always. I don't care what time of day, what day of the month. Hey, it didn't matter. High traffic. Um, Kind of what they would call a trap house. That's what it is. Trap house. Yeah, that's what it is. Anyway, I didn't know that back then. I just learned that shit from being on here. But anyway, that's what I would call it. Anyway, so I asked for Teresa, and the person said she wasn't there, so I turned around, left, and right down the street on the next block, we have a mutual friend. I love her to death. She's another one I've been knowing for years. Her name is Christian, and I said, "Hey, Christian," I said, "Have you seen Teresa?" She says, "No, she ain't at home," and So I said, well, I need to find her. I said, does she have another phone or anything? I said, because the police called and said that they had her daughter, passed out. And she was like, no, they don't. I just talked to her. She around the corner. Somebody must have, I said, I'm sorry. She said that the girl must have lost her phone or dropped it, and somebody picked it up and was playing on the phone. And I said, well, thank God. I'm gonna go on back to, home, take my clothes off, Lord, roll me some weed. I'm like, okay, thank you, Lord. So the next morning, or the next day, I don't know if it was that morning, I saw Christian outside again. And the girl, I'll just go ahead and say her name, Bree. I think I said her name early anyway. Bree was standing next to her. So I got out of the car and I went over and I hugged her. I said, oh my God. I said, I'm so glad you're okay. Somebody called on my phone playing, girl, talking about you was passed out and stuff. Thank you, Jesus. I love these kids. I've known them since they were kids. So she said, no, that wasn't me. That was Brandon. And I looked at her. I said, Brandon? And she said, yeah, he was on something. And the police had got a call that he was going from door to door, taking objects off people's front porches, whether it be plants, chairs, vases, little tables, whatever they had, and he would switch them. Like he would take a table from one house and put it at the next house, and then if that house that he left the table at had a plant, he'll get the plant and go take it back to the house where he took the table from. He was doing that all down the street, and apparently he was not nude, but almost nude, had his shirt off, and he had long blonde hair, so they thought it was a female that time of night while he was, on the ground. The hair was probably all over his face or whatnot. So they thought that he was a female. So that's how that miscommunication came about. So I said, oh my God, is he okay? So she told me what I just told you guys. And she said that they were waiting on a phone call so that we can go up and see him. I said, well, let me know. I'll take you and your mother. I said, let your mom know that I'll give you guys a ride up there. Because, mind you, she didn't have a car, right? So she called me. I don't know, remember if it was that day or I checked back the next day and it kept saying no. They said that that they had to sedate him and, things like that, So I really started praying, extra hard. I said, okay, well, he's still in the right place. So the next day, she called me and she said, okay, we're ready to go. I said, okay, I'm on my way. That's exactly what I did. So I got there and the sister got in the car and I said, where's your mom? She said she's in the house cleaning. I'm going to leave that right there. Um, I understand now that Teresa has her own addictions. I didn't understand that then. It's not excuse for what happened. And I haven't spoken to her since the death of her son. And anyway, she didn't get in the car, okay? So myself and his sister went up to the hospital and everything, and they needed consent on something. I can't remember what it was. And they had been trying to call Teresa. I remember this, and she hadn't answered the phone. They couldn't contact her, but she was there. And she finally called back while we happened to have been there. We hadn't seen Brandon yet. And she released all of her rights. She said she didn't want to deal with it and to let his sister make the decisions. His sister at that time was probably 18. Just turned just turned 18. Not 18 going, like just turned 18. Being made to make the decisions of her little brother. Anyway, Brandon was eventually released. I didn't know when he was released, but when he was, I was told that he went to his older sister's house. Older sister meaning early 30s or late 20s. I had never met her. She lives in Oregon. She had never been in California as long as I had known the family. So I'm thinking good because I was really concerned because everybody wanted him out of the hospital, and I understood that. He had been there for, a few days. I understood. But in my heart, I knew, well, Lord, if he got out, he's going to go back to the same thing. You know, there's no out. So I was happy. So he got out. About a month or so later, I was getting gas and I happened to see Brandon back in California getting out the back seat of someone's car. I just saw these long legs coming, and out pops Brandon. Almost didn't recognize him. He had shaved his hair off. Not all of it, but he had cut his hair really short. He had long blonde hair. And I said, boy, what are you doing here? He said, oh, I'm back. I'm like, what do you mean you back? I said, are you okay? He said, yeah. And he looked at me and then he hugged me. So he hugged me. He hugged me tight. And he told me he had missed me. And I said, okay. I said, I still, call me and let me know, what's going on or whatever. So he looked really good. Face was clear. He looked good. So I went on about my business. And I don't know if I said this already. I was trying to get this is after that happened. So Brandon had ended up getting on he was on probation and some other stuff, like I said. So I was trying to get him. Well, his mother had been number one, wanted me to get Brandon. And I hadn't even raised my own kids yet. I mean, to get them out of the house, and I was working hard, but I was still helping her with Brandon. So I had moved out of the area, and I was trying to get Brandon into Job Corps, but because he was on probation, they would not allow him to come where I am. I called, the mother gave me permission. She was going to give turnover, what she needed to turn over for me to get him into Job Corps and everything. So they said no, so he stayed where he was. This is what happened. Well, this is allegedly what happened. Bree wakes up in the morning, goes into the bedroom where Brandon is, and he's just he's dead in the bed. Case closed. Several weeks later, this was the story that I got. His mother Teresa's his mother Teresa was in her room huffing. She huffed until she passed out with the can still in her hand. Brandon then came up out of his room. He went into her room and saw her. He took the can and went back into her room, is what I was told. He was sitting there huffing. His mother Teresa came up out of her spell or whatever mind state it puts her in, and she was angry. She couldn't find her can. She walked into Brandon's room and saw him with it. I was told that she at that time punched him in the side of his face. He fell, hit his head, and started to vomit. Paramedics were called. Brandon was pronounced dead. Rest in peace, Brandon. I never thought I'd be telling your story. I never wish for this to happen. It's like when you know something's gonna happen, but you kind of push it back, and yeah, it's kind of like that. God bless you, sweet baby. And you know our family loves you. Rest easy. Thank you all for joining me today. R.I.P. Brandon. Thank you for joining me.